1500 on the screen,
That's correct.
but the main difference being that it comes with the audible alarm.
Yes.
Now, do you also make,
Can we turn up the light?
please, thank you, Your Honor,
Thank you.
a tabletop version pulse oximeters?
That's correct.
Okay. Specifically, I
One
want...
moment, please. Is there an objection?
Yes.
The objection's overruled. Again, 350, 352.
Specifically, does Nonin produce the Nonin 9600 tabletop pulse oximeter?
Yes, we do.
Okay. I have a photograph of that model, Your Honor. May that be marked People's 38 for identification?
It is.
Showing you People's 38, the tabletop pulse oximeter. Thank you. Is that accurate, what I've written on People's 38?
Yes.
And if we could just leave, I'll just proceed with one more, Your Honor. Does Nonin also make tabletop monitors that are both providing monitoring of capnography as well as pulse oximetry?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And what is capnography?
Capnography is the measure of the CO2 that's coming from your breath.
Okay. And do you make do you sell a model of the MedAir LifeSense capnograph and pulse oximeter?
That's correct.
Okay. I have a photograph of that model, Your Honor. May that be marked People's 39?
It is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sir, showing you People's 39 for identification. Do you recognize that as the LifeSense model?
Yes.
Okay. And again, in People's 39, the blue device that's shown to the right of that photograph, is that the sensor that would go on the finger?
That's correct.
Okay. And is this also a tabletop monitor that would sit, for example, near a bedside?
That's correct.
Okay. And it's a portable model, however?
Yes.
Okay. And all of these models we've described are all portable?
Yes.
By design?
Yes.
Okay. And this model that measures both capnography and pulse oximetry, can you tell us basically what's displayed on this screen, in this sample photograph?
Yes. We would have both the heart rate and the SpO2 as for the pulse oximetry. And then there is the percent CO2 and the respiration rate.
Okay. And these wavelengths and graphs down here on the bottom of the sample photograph, what is that?
Those are the heartbeats and the respirations.
Okay. And in 2009, to get this tabletop portable model that measured both capnography and pulse oximetry, how much would this have cost?
About $1,500.
Is that accurate, what I've written on People's 39, $1,500?
Yes.
In regard to all of these models...
Excuse me. Maybe
I'm sorry,
turn up the lights?
please, Your Honor.
Mr. Sale, thank you. Mr. Walker, thank you.
Thank you. In regard to all of these models, the Nonin 9500, which you've identified as People's 33 in this case, the Nonin 9600, the Nonin 2500A, and the combined capnography and pulse oximeter as reflected in the LifeSense model. In addition to being able to purchase these items for the prices you've indicated, are they also available to lease?
That would be correct. Yes.
And just taking one, for example, let's say that the Nonin 2500 that could be purchased for $750, about how much would it cost to lease that for a month?
It would be $40 a month.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Walker, thank you. Cross-examination, please, Mr. Flanagan.
The model 9500, use on a fingertip, is it accurate?
Yes.
And it senses the percent of red blood cells that are oxygenated,
That's correct.
and it also senses the heart rate, which would be the pulse.
Yes.
And while it's on the finger, does it do that constantly?
Yes.
Now, if you say it's good for spot checking,
Yes.
what do you mean by spot checking?
As I described, if you were to go into your doctor's office to take your vital signs to record in your chart, for a COPD patient, they may use it to see if their oxygen is satisfactory or if they need to adjust their oxygen flow.
Now, if you were going to monitor a patient for 10 or 15 minutes, and you were present with that patient, would it be adequate?
Perhaps.
I mean, if the patient changes from minute to minute, does this detect the change?
It does detect a change.
So if you were there with a patient who, say, was under the influence of propofol for 5 or 10 minutes, and you were looking at this this monitor, you would have a constant reading on the oxygenation and the heart rate, wouldn't you?
Yes, you would.
And what it's not good for is if you're monitoring that patient from another room.
No.
Because you wouldn't be able to see it, you wouldn't be able to hear it.
It's very difficult to monitor a patient and be observing those numbers. So that's why it's not recommended for, without alarms, for continuous monitoring.
Okay, and what do you mean by continuous monitoring?
For something other than taking a vital sign reading, a spot check.
Okay, and but if you wanted to spot check the person for every 5 minutes, it'd be adequate.
That's correct.
And if you were just monitoring the patient for a short period of time, like say 5 or 10 minutes, it would be adequate.
If you were constantly watching the screen, yes.
Now, is there anything in your brochure that says this is contraindicated for monitoring for periods of time of 5 or 10 minutes?
Yes, it says it's for spot check only.
And for spot checking, if you were monitoring a patient for 10 minutes, you would consider that not spot checking?
I'd have a hard time calling that spot checking.
Is there any time limitations in your brochure about how long you can use this?
It takes about 10 seconds to get an adequate reading, and once you have that reading, that's a spot check.
Okay, and if you leave it on for longer than 5 or 10 seconds, it will give you a new reading each 5 or 10 seconds?
It constantly monitors, yes.
So it can be used for constant monitoring?
No, it cannot.
Give you the answer. Do you want it stricken?
I didn't hear the answer, actually.
No, it cannot.
Withdrawn.
All right. The answer remains. The objection is overruled.
If you wanted to constantly monitor a patient for 5 or 10 minutes, it's adequate for that, isn't it?
It's not labeled for constant monitoring.
But it is adequate for that, isn't it?
If you were watching the screen the entire time.
Okay. When you don't have the audible alarm, it's necessary to watch.
That's correct.
That's the only difference, isn't it?
That's correct.
Nothing further.
Mr. Flanagan, thank you. Mr. Walgren, redirect.
Thank you. That's a big difference, right?
That's a huge difference.
Between life and death, potentially.
Yes.
Okay. And to be clear, if you have the 9500 on someone's finger and you can't visibly see that tiny screen and you're in the other room, the monitoring application is useless, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Mr. Walgren, thank you. Mr. Flanagan.
If you're not looking at this instrument, you say it's useless?
Yes.
But if you are looking at it, does it give you the information you need?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. May the witness, Mr. Johnson, be excused. Mr.
Please, Your
Wogan.
Honor.
Mr. Flanagan?
Yes.
Thank you. Sir, I want to thank you for your testimony. Please don't discuss your testimony or the facts of the case with any other witness until we finish the trial. You may step down. You may leave. You are excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Walden, Ms. Brisbane.